Great seeing you here again. We're starting with the first teaching video of lesson 11. We are looking at the reduction of project duration, and this is lesson 11 in our class, or our master class in project management. Reducing duration. So what are we going to consider here? Now, the first thing we are going to evaluate is the fact that we finished the project schedule, but now we have some things that we have to verify. We will see what's happening now, and the first thing that we may consider is that the allocated time that we have to finish the project is less than the time that we need. So when we do the forward pass, we identify how much time we need to finish the project, and we see here that the time that we have available is less than the time we need. We also look at when projects are late, and we will get fines for being late. When projects are early, in some cases we can get a reward, it depends on the situation. And also we can find the optimal duration of the project, looking at different elements related to project costs and cost for reducing the duration. There are some different methods to reduce the project duration. I will mention them here, and later in the follow-up videos we will be looking at some of those methods in detail. So we completed the schedule. What now? So what we finished at the end of the scheduling and the forward pass and doing the backward pass and so on, we have in fact determined the duration of the project based on the available information. The ideal situation would be that the duration we calculated in normal circumstances is acceptable, or we can even have more time than needed. So we finish or we need 15 periods to finish a project, but we have in fact 2 periods extra. So that would be a very comfortable situation, but it's not always the case. In many cases, however, I say in some cases, but I think in most cases, in many cases, we will see that we have less time to finish the project than what we need, and we must find a solution to reduce the project duration. The first element is the allocated time is less than needed. Typically, it happens that in many projects that the time we have allocated to complete the project is less than our estimation. So we don't have enough time to complete the project as we planned it. Here we have to find ways to reduce the project duration using different techniques like activity crashing, activity fast tracking, and other methods I will discuss later in this video. Another element or another thing that happens or can happen when we are late, we can get fines. We may incur those fines when a project, for example, would exceed a certain duration, and that would of course reduce our profits, and it may even lead to important losses. Finishing a project too late will also result in loss of credibility. In some cases, the customer may fine us for finishing later, and we must find ways to avoid or reduce the fines. So even when we are in planning phase or later in execution, we can come to the situation that we have delays, and that basically our project, when we look at the planning, is set to be late. And then we may have to take measures to reduce the project duration during project execution. Early finish and rewards, it's sometimes the case when we have a project duration reduction, or we have a project duration that we want to reduce, because when we finish below a certain time, we may get some rewards. The reward is given when a project is finished faster than a preset date. Now, here we have to also find how do we get the reduction. How can we reduce the project duration and maximize the rewards that we get. So it will increase our profits. Now there are some elements that can happen because, for example, we may have to pay more for resources to do the work faster and so on, and it will compensate with the reward. So we have to see how can we in fact profit from those rewards when we are putting additional money to reduce the duration of the project. Typically, these things happen. I've seen in infrastructure projects, construction projects, and other projects where a significant economical advantage can be gained when the project is completed faster. I've seen it in Belgium in some projects where, for example, road constructions, these have a lot of issues, a lot of delays, a lot of additional stress for the people around, losses, economical losses, and in many cases when the company or the supplier or the company who is doing the project can reduce the duration of the project, they get a reward. For example, when we look at hotels, I don't think it would be always good to get a reward in case the project is finished earlier. It depends on from when will the hotel be open, and it has no sense to motivate a company to finish the hotel faster when you don't have any clients going to the hotel. So you have to look at the economical aspects too. Another thing we can do is finding the optimal duration of the project. Now, when we look at a project in general, we may find fines and rewards. And what we try to find here is to find an optimal duration, ensuring the highest profit. Now, when we reduce the project duration, it will also reduce the fines, eventually increase the rewards. And since the duration is reduced, the cost for project management will also be reduced. And we have to consider the combination of all these three parameters, which will lead to an optimal duration of the project. We will look at some examples later on. Like I promised before, let's have a look at the different methods that we can use to reduce project duration. How can we do that? First of all, we have activity crashing. Activity crashing is a method where we are adding more resources to activities. Activity fast tracking, here we're going to execute activities in parallel. So some activities will be starting before their predecessors are completely finished. We can also look at adjusting resource allocations. We can change dependencies between activities. We can increase the project budget. We can reduce the project scope. And we can also split the project in different phases. So where we say, okay, every phase has an economical advantage and as, let's say, a use, because after that phase, we can already start generating revenues. So that was it, our first lesson, our first video in this 11th lesson. And we will be doing more about how to reduce the duration of the project. So that's it for this first teaching video of lesson 11. I'm looking forward to seeing you in our next videos. Thank you and bye-bye.